the one that hasn't burst. No. They didn't even ask about that one. In fact, the assumptions that were built into the stress tests were that the interest rates stay at 0 and that 10-year government bonds, the yields stay below 1.8%. What kind of stress is that? Doesn't sound too stressful to me. How about interest rates at 5% Fed funds? How about 10-year treasuries at 7%? How about seeing how the banks handle that? I don't think they'd handle it too well. In fact, the reason they didn't ask, the reason the Federal Reserve didn't want the banks to stress test that is because they'd all fail. Not just the government the banks that would fail, the government. Here's the predicament the Fed is in. It has now got us so hooked on cheap money that we need a massive dose on it to stay high. It has to be. If the Fed raises interest rates even back to the 1% that used to be low, it'll kill us. We can't even handle that. Right? The debt is so big that the rates have got to be practically nothing. Now, what is the consequence of all the money that the Fed has to print? Because how does the Fed keep interest rates artificially low? They call it quantitative easing, right? Which is a nice name for inflation. Right? They don't want to say we create inflation because people know inflation is bad. So they came up with a new word for it. They call it quantitative easing. Oh, okay, that's not so bad. Right? Quantitative, that sounds like you guys thought a lot about it. Easy is better than hard. Right? Quantitative easing. You know? So the Fed has to print all this money to buy all these bonds. The problem is when they print money, they diminish its value. Okay? And so what is the consequence of the Fed printing all this money to buy these bonds? Well, if you bought gasoline in the last few days and you paid $4 a gallon or more, that's the consequence. You're seeing the evidence of the inflation that the Fed is creating to maintain these artificially low rates. Now, of course, the Fed doesn't accept responsibility for the rise in gas prices. Now, somehow it wants to